Well, good morning. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. Hope you all are well this morning. I want to talk today about getting rid of problem people who you have allowed into your group. It's a question I get a lot, and it's an important question, and it's an important answer. First off, welcome to everyone, especially welcome to the new people. We keep having people join. Both channels are just growing beyond my expectations, and I really appreciate that. I enjoy so many of you that I get to interact with and talk with and see your comments and answer your questions and things like that, and it is great to have you. I'll tell you something right off here. I just read, and it piqued my interest because it has to do with today's topic. Something came out. I guess I got an alert on my phone, and it said that somebody from an SHTF group on, is it Facebook or someplace? I don't know. Apparently I am a member of a couple of SHTF groups somewhere. I think that Kelly sent them to me, and I went ahead and joined just to kind of see what was going on in there. I don't keep track of them because it's just not, most of it's just not interesting to me. It's pretty basic stuff, and so I don't. But this one intrigued me. It said that somebody had put up a post on a modern version of the ant and the grasshopper fable. Now, you're all familiar with that, right? The industrious ant that works all summer and lays up all the stores that he needs and prepares. An ant, the prepper, as opposed to the grasshopper who just laid around and partied and played and all that. And when the winter came, he pounded on the ant's door wanting to, get some of the ant's stuff because he was cold and he was hungry and he needed to, and it's all. You're familiar with that, and you see how that applies to what we're talking about today. And it's a spin-off. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, there was a reply to that was so brilliant. It was just it's one of those that is so funny and yet is so true. And it was a long piece that the guy had written. His name is Harry Rainey. I want to give him credit. I have no idea. He's just a member of this group, apparently. And whether he wrote this or not, I don't know, whether it was original or whether he got it from someplace. But I want to give him credit for that. And I'm going to read that over on the Patreon channel. So for those of you who are our Patreon members, you're going to get a kick out of it. You're gonna. There goes our Sunday morning racer. Needs to get his muffler fixed. It is brilliant. Those of you who aren't on Patreon, please come and join us on Patreon. It's only $1 a month, and I put so much more over there than I put on YouTube. And it is important stuff that's going to help you be prepared and help you defend yourself and help you. We just were able to get a lot deeper over on Patreon, things that YouTube just won't either put up or they won't monetize, which means that they won't distribute it. They won't make it known to people. So those kind of things, it doesn't do me any good to put it up and make it available on YouTube because nobody will see it. So that's the kind of stuff that's over on Patreon. And like I say, it only costs $1 a month. And if you really want to get deeper into this, you need to be over there. I hope that you will be over there. It's a great community. We have some sharp people over there. We have sharp people on YouTube, but it goes deeper and wider over on Patreon. And we have some real subject experts over there, especially for those of you who are interested in electromagnetic pulse and things like that, even though I wrote 5 books on kind of what happens after that. I'm not an expert on the science of it. We have a guy over there, Hondo Bob, that is puts stuff up there that is just fascinating, and it will answer so many of your questions. Okay, now to the subject at hand. While I take a sip of coffee from my Second Amendment mug. So, a week or two ago, I don't remember when, I put up one about what to do, and it was in response to somebody's question And I love your questions because it gives me things it tells me what you all want to know about. What to do when the unprepared show up at your door. Everything falls apart. It's SHTF, it's Tiatuaki, it's WROL, it's all those horrible things. And you've prepared and you've done your best. And some people that you maybe tried to get, interested in preparing and didn't. They all of a sudden knock on your door and say, "Hey, Steve," or "Hey, John," or "Hey, hey, look, you were right, and we don't have any food, and here we are. What do you do?" Well, I make the point that people are beyond your immediate needs of air, water, food, and shelter. People are a need. People are a resource. You're not getting through any horrible situation without people. Even in today's world, people make all the difference. The person who tries to make it on their own, well, they may putter through. But, developing a community, a mutually supportive community, is what it's all about. That's the difference between surviving and living. And most people understand that. Not everybody does, but most people do. So when these people come and knock on your door, it could be your family, it could be friends, and it could be neighbors. What do you do? Well, I made the point that I prepare for others because I know that there are a lot of people who are quality people otherwise, who do not believe the way I do when it comes to the world falling apart and all that. And so they are not preparing the way I am, if at all. And yet that doesn't mean that they're not, high quality people and people that I would want with me after a crash. Some are family, some are friends. And they bring a lot to the table. They bring knowledge and skills and principles, foundational principles. The kind of person they are is the kind of person that is going to be an asset in a grid down situation. And so I explain very, very simply, I know that this is going to happen. I'm not going to turn them away. And because I want them with me. First off, I want to help them. And that should be enough right there. But beyond helping, they are going to be an asset. They are going to add strength to the group for long-term survivability of the group. So, I explain that. And every time that I do, I will always get comments such as, you can't let people know what you have because as soon as you give them one can of beans, all of their friends are going to know about it, and they're going to come get you and overrun you and everything like that. Or it will be phrased as a question, kind of a, snarky question. "Oh yeah, what are you going to do when everybody comes over and takes all your stuff because they know you got..." As if I had never considered that. Never considered that. So glad you came on here and shared your expertise with me. It's funny. And the thing is, I have considered that, and there is an answer for that. And very often, implicit in their question or in their statement is that nothing can be done. Nothing can be done. If they find out that you're prepared, they're just going to come to you. Have to give up everything you've got, and nothing can be done. Well, I have thought about it. Let me show you. For those of you who don't know, excuse me, I'll put my cup of coffee over there. I have thought so much about it that I wrote 5 books about it. That's right, 5 books. This is the Stonemont series, and the reason that I'm showing you these books is because if you haven't read them, you should. You should read the entire series so far. I'm working on the 6th one now. Why? Because this is about how to prepare for, how to survive, and then how to rebuild after everything has fallen apart. It's a novel series, it's fiction. But I wrote it as fiction so as to include every possible lesson you could want in the preparation and survival and rebuilding after something like this. Okay, believe it or not, it takes. Look at all the pages, right? Look at all the pages. And each one of those pages has a lot of words on it. It takes a lot of thought to write one book, right? I mean, how many people have written one book, right? It takes a lot of thought to write one book, let alone 5 books. Okay, now I'm not patting myself on the back with that. I'm kind of being funny because that's my response to these people who seem to act like I have never thought about what they're bringing up. And I should say, you should read them, yes. And I always put the link down here. They're available on Amazon in Kindle and trade paperback. And people all over the world have read them and loved them and learned from them, and why shouldn't you, right? I'd love to have you. If you want an autographed copy from me or the whole set or whatever, there's a way to do that. I also put that down in the information down there. But you'll get it a lot faster from Amazon if you don't care about an autograph. If you want an autographed copy or want to send one as a gift to somebody, there's a way to do that. It just takes longer because I don't specialize in shipping, right? When I get orders in, I sit down and I sign the books, and then I find the time I can get a post office, send them out, and then I run out and I got to order more. So I'm happy to do it, and I love to do it. But if you want it quickly, Amazon is your way to go. Okay, so now, what do you do? That's all me explaining that yes, I've thought about it, and here's my answer. You have to be prepared for that to happen. You have to know. You see, I just assumed that everybody realized this, and apparently some don't. You have to be ready for that to happen, and you have to be ready to handle it. Well, you can't handle that if you think you can keep the golden hordes away from you. First off, I'm going to do one. I don't believe in the golden hordes, and I have a really good reason for that. I actually talk about that in the books too, and the people are all afraid of that. You have to be able to handle it. Okay, there's several things we want to hit on here. First off, if you live in an area like I currently live, which is in the suburbs, or hopefully you don't live in the city, but in the suburbs, there are going to be people who know that you are a preparedness-minded person. Now, guess what? Write 5 books about it. Everybody's going to know, right? But a lot of you think that you're going to be able to keep it on the down low, and maybe you do. Maybe you do for now. But when it all goes south, then what? It's not going to take very long for them to see that you're not suffering the way they are. So that's going to start bringing questions, okay? It is going to bring questions. You can huddle in your house and, and just try to act as if you're suffering along with everybody else. But let me ask you something. Is that why you prepared? To suffer with everybody else? You're going to be, doling out the food little by little by little for a week. Well, in a week or 2 weeks, everybody else is totally out of food. You're still eating. They're going to see the difference. You have to admit that to yourself. That's one of the reasons why, if you live in a suburban situation, one of your first things that you do is get out. Now, if you don't have a place in mind, it's probably too late to get out. Okay, but that's also one of the things. I won't talk about it in this one, but to have a planned place, a retreat to go to, is extremely important. To have supplies there, or to be able to get supplies there. Okay, that's for another times. This situation is such that, say I live where I live now. Okay. Everything goes to pot, and I've got family and friends that show up here. All right. Thank goodness you're here. You know why? Because I'm going to need you to protect my family and your family from all the people who may cause me problems. Right? That's right. Now, here's what we're going to do. And because you are the preparedness-minded person, guess who's in charge? Now, you should have thought about this, and there will be some of you that will say, well, I'm not really a leader kind of person. Well, okay, If you're not, then you're setting yourself up for trouble. Okay? Or maybe there is a strong leader that comes. You better let them take care of things, because leadership is at the core of this. Okay? As people come to you, each of them is going to bring different skills, right? Different attributes, different value to the group. You're going to have to be able to decide what that is and know how to use it properly. Now, I'm not going to be talking about what if you're attacked by your neighbors, right? What I'm talking about right now is expelling problem people from your group, because that was a couple of the questions here. Yeah, if you get rid of, because I said in a previous one, if somebody causes a problem, they're gone. If they don't follow the rules, they're gone. And so these people say, well, yeah, well, that's, then they know all of your plans. They know everything. Well, first off, why do they know all of your plans? As soon as they got there, did you sit down and say, let me tell you all about my plans? Okay. That's a little OPSEC right there, right? The OPSEC isn't that you have stuff. The OPSEC is how you do it. Okay. And they say, and then they're just going to go out and get other people and come back and raid you. Okay. And so this is what I'm specifically addressing in this one. How do you deal with people that are problems? And I say, get rid of them. And this is where the people say, yeah, but if you get rid of them, they're going to come back and attack you. See, implied in that question is you can't get rid of problem people. Now, how much sense does that make? And then, if they say you can't get rid of problem people, well, if you don't get rid of them, then what do you do with them? Do you give them a leadership role? I mean, is that your solution? No. I read a book a long time ago, Donald Trump's first book. What was it called? I forget. And this was back in the 80s when he wrote it. And I remember something that he said in there. And he was exactly right, because I had a business at the time, and I've had a number of businesses, and I've had a number of employees. And he said something in there. And so I've dealt with employee situations, employee problems. You got good ones, you got and you got medium ones, and then you got the one that's always grousing and complaining and stuff like that. And he said something in that book that I've always remembered and I've found to be always true. He says, it's not the person you fire that causes you problems. It's the person you don't. That's the truth. The person you get rid of right now doesn't cause you any more problems. Oh, they think that they will. They'll threaten. I'm going to come do this. I'm going to come do. No, they're not, because they're a problem person. And they don't cause you. They can go out there and they can talk all the bad they want to about you. But guess what? Everybody else knows they're a problem person too. And in a raw situation, it's better to have the identified problem outside your fence than inside your fence or outside the wire, right? It's better to have that. So when a person starts to grouse about things, your immediate situation, and I write about this a number of times. I address problem people and expelling them in what? In the Stonemont series. That's right. In these, I go into it in detail about the hows and the whys, and everything else in between. So when somebody starts a problem, you get rid of them. You get rid of them now. Now, but you can't just get rid of them. Why? Well, because it's not fair. Well, it's not fair. You prepared for everybody, okay? You are the one who prepared. Guess who's the boss? You are. You're the boss. You prepared. You're the one providing the food. Who is the boss? You better be, because if you're not, you jeopardize the safety of the entire group. It's not just you. Okay? And so you take charge. Now here's an important thing. This is a very important thing. Democracy will not work. Democracy is a weak governing style. Okay? You do not put this up to a committee. Nobody gets a vote. You had the food. You're taking care of people. You're feeding all these people. You're giving them security. You are in charge. Now, I know that that's something that a lot of people are just uncomfortable with because, oh, well, we don't want to be in charge. Now, I've often said I don't trust anybody who wants to be in charge of other people. And that's true. That's not what this is about. This is a person who they didn't want to be in charge. They have accepted the responsibility of being in charge. Okay, I was talking to a group at a corporation I used to work at, and I said, when you choose somebody going into supervision or management, you got to find the one who looks at it as a responsibility, not authority. But then they have to be able and willing to use the authority to satisfy the responsibility. But it's a responsibility that's the important driver here. So you have to assume that position, because if you leave it up to a committee or if you leave it up to a vote, you have doomed your group. And I know that we live in such a wishy-washy world anymore that seems just incredibly mean. It's not. Strong leadership, unified leadership is vital in surviving. Vital. And if somebody has a different opinion, so you need to be strong in your own leadership. And if you're a weakling who just decided to buy a bunch of food, you'd better find somebody who is strong, who can handle this and does it for the benefit of the group and who understands this. Because if you leave it up to a vote, if you say, you're gone, and you have people coming, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. But he has a right to an opinion. You want to be gone too? Because that's the next step. He doesn't have a right to an opinion. When he has been trying to mutiny here, I have the food. You want the food? It's my way. Feel free to go out there and make it on your own. But while you're here, you will not cause a problem for the rest of us. You see, because you are responsible. And I know that some of you have been in these situations of primary responsibility. Every parent should be, but sadly, every parent isn't. When I look at the parents around here, many of them are just as wishy-washy as anything else. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Let's build a consensus, and let's build this. I think it's from watching all these reality shows where people build, I've never seen any of them, but I've heard about them, where they build, what do they call them? I don't know. They build little groups to work against other groups. Well, if you have people in your group that are working together to sway the way that your group is going, okay, you have a problem, and they're going to destroy everybody. Everybody's going to die because of them. And most of the people won't understand that. Most people won't understand that because they haven't been in a life or death situation. And so that's where leadership, you can't say, well, I want to make everybody happy, or I want everybody to like me, or I want everybody to be my friend, or anything. No. If you have decided that you are prepared because you want your family to survive, your children, your wife, your husband, your brother, your sister, whatever, then you're going to have to accept that position of primary responsibility and authority. Can't be putting it up to a vote. I talk about in detail about that in the books. Now, so some people are still going to be saying, yeah, but if you take them out there, if you banish them, or two things. If you banish them, you're just condemning them to starvation. I'm not. They did. All they had to do is, to be safe and have food, do what I ask. Follow the rules. These are the rules. And you know what? In the rules, and I've put in there the rules that Stonemont goes by. That's the community that builds in those books. The Ten Commandments and the Golden Rule. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Everybody understands that. And the ones who don't are dangerous. So, you're just condemning them to starvation and death. No, they did. They had a choice. They could have stayed here and followed the rules, but instead they decided to cause trouble or try to cause trouble, and now they're going to carry their trouble with them as they leave. And then the second part is, well, they're just going to come back and cause trouble. I didn't think about that. Really? You know, the first thing that you do when you banish somebody, you get ready for them to come back. And the day they come back with whoever is going to be the worst day of their life. And you know what happens as a result of all of these things? They are lessons that other people who are watching learn. Very simple. Very simple. And if you want to know how I handle people who try to cause trouble in the books, or, well, we'll just say in the books, okay? So you do it in such a way that nobody will ever forget it, or be tempted to try to do what that person tried to do. I think that says it pretty clearly, right? Leave it up to you to decide how you do it. It's a beautiful day. So those are the things. Don't assume that because something is difficult, that it can't or shouldn't be done. Your survival depends on it. Whether your kids grow up to adulthood depends on it. Whether your grandkids are born and grow up in a decent world depends on it. But it depends on strong and unified strength. You know, and when I say you have to be able to stand alone, you do. But this is also why you have to have a solid core in your group who feel exactly the same way, because it's not going to be just you saying out. As I express in the books, I go into great detail on this. It's going to be you saying out, and pretty much everybody else in the group going, that's right, out. Okay. Anybody who's not on board is overboard. Simple as that. They can fend for themselves. They can go out and have a nice, happy life, you know, building whatever they want to, but it's not going to be, you know, under the umbrella of your safety and your providence. They can do what they want to until they try to cause you trouble again. Anyway, I hope that has answered your questions. Again, I do recommend that you read this series. I have never heard a question on any of my videos or any of anybody else's videos that I know of that I have not answered in detail in this series of books. And so it's really for you. I think it's an enjoyable series. People seem to like it. You know, they love it, and it's a great story. And it's lesson after lesson after lesson after lesson after lesson in preparedness, survival, and rebuilding, wrapped into a story of people that you'll like, people that you'll want to be with, and some that you won't. And then we deal with them. Okay. You all have a good day. Keep those things in mind. Go ahead and ask me any questions you have on this. I'll be happy to come back. And if it's worth a video, I sure will. And do join us if you'd like over on Patreon. When I'm done with this, I'm going to read that modernized Ant and the Grasshopper story. It is brilliant. And other stuff that I put over on Patreon. Recently, I've talked about one person building, clearing, and carrying multiple weapons, and the choice of handguns and calibers for new people, and even for experienced people, because I know people who have carried guns for years and years and years, and after I've introduced different things to them, because I happen to have a background. I have a very long background in this. I don't talk about it all the time, but I do. After I introduce some things to them, many of them seem to like it, and it kind of improves the way that they do things. So join us over there if you'd like to. Again, the link is down there. You all have a great day. I'm going to finish my cup of coffee. And remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. So prepare well today, because I want you to live well tomorrow. I want you to be one of the ones out here when it all goes crashing down that I'll run across someday, and you're doing great. And you go, Steve, Luck, how you doing? And I'll say, good to see you. You all have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.